My company allows me to buy PTO. I brought this up in the comments of a random post recently, and a few people seem to be mind-blown by it, so I thought I'd bring it up here. As the title says, my company allows us to purchase PTO. It's expensive as hell. Basically an hour for however much you make an hour. 40 hours total purchasable, so in the end, you're paying out your own PTO for that week you take off. I haven't seen it often in my 10+ years of working, so I thought I'd see how y'all feel about it. It seems cool at first, but the more you think about it, the more predatory it feels. Even so, I sure did buy 40 hours this year because time away from work is worth it. Edit. So many comments. I do want to say I do get a regular 120 hours of PTO, but this is on top of that. Also, we don't get unpaid time off. That just sounds like unpaid leave with extra steps. How does that work for taxes? Is your income reduced pre- or post-tax? I don't see how this is any different than authorized unpaid leave. I always buy it because the cost is spread out throughout the year, so I don't notice it as much. And because I buy it at my rate before I get annual raise, and then my vacation pays me at a higher rate. And I like being at work as little as possible. If it costs as much as you make an hour, you're losing money on this. If you make 40 an hour, you're only taking home like 30 after taxes. Meaning it costs you like 1.3 hours of labor to afford the full hour off. It's common over here. You can buy an extra week or even sell one back limited by the 4 weeks you legally have. Again, at cost but spread over the year. So if you've got 5 weeks, you can sell one back for a pay rise. If you want 6 weeks, you take a pay cut. So what's the difference between that and just having unpaid time off? My work allows me to buy an extra 5 days annual leave a year. Plus I get 1 day extra a year, been there. Max 5. Then milestone day off when been there so many years. Plus if work bank holidays, can get back. So for 2024 I have possible 40 days annual leave, or close to 6 weeks annual leave. Probably one of the main reasons why I don't leave lol. Pretty normal in professional jobs in the UK. I get my base allowance, which is between 25 and 30 days. Plus public holidays paid, and then can opt to buy another 5 days at the start of the holiday year. I always do. It's the same as taking unpaid leave. But I don't need special authorization for it, as it's a standard benefit and the cost is spread over the full year rather than losing a large chunk of 1 month's pay. I've heard of this before from my parents. You buy X many days, weeks at your pay rate, and if you don't use it by the end of the year, it's paid back to you. I'm told this is common for companies that don't offer any form of unpaid PTO. But I've never run into it in my experience. I work for an international pharmaceutical company in the UK. We can buy or sell up to 5 days leave each year. We start with 25 days leave, so you can sell 5 and still have the legal minimum of 20 days leave a year. If you buy leave, it has to be approved by your manager at the end of the year. Then it's added to the next year's leave, and the cost is deducted monthly, spread out over the year. So you lose 5/12 of a day's pay each month. You hardly notice it. If you are selling, you nominate selling some of next year's allowance at the end of this year. And if you still have it to sell at the beginning of December, you cash it, and the value is added to the December pay. So you basically get 5 days overtime in the December pay, without doing overtime. This sounds like a roundabout way of saying the company doesn't provide PTO, as you're basically just saving an hour's pay here, there, or wherever to pay yourself when you take the day off. An extra step perhaps to make it seem like the company is allowing you paid time off at some small expense to yourself, as you probably only sacrifice an hour here or there to save up your PTO bank. What bothers me is that they calling it PTO. In many states, the company isn't required by law to pay out saved PTO to employees when they get fired or quit. So calling your already worked PTO could allow to rob you down the line. Not cool. My company does this. I don't see the harm. Yeah, it's basically unpaid time off, but you don't miss a paycheck. This thread is hilarious. So many of you are baffled by this. I've had this option at 3 different companies and always use it. I buy PTO at work. It's great. You pay based on your pay rate at the time you purchase, but you get paid at whatever your rate is when you use it. I got a hefty raise this year, so every time I use PTO, I'm making extra money since I bought it at a much cheaper rate last year. It's nice to have the extra week of PTO in case of emergency. I can purchase additional days, so I pay for 5 extra days holiday a year, and this is taken direct from my paycheck spread out across the year. That is on top of 24 days I already get and 8 bank holidays. My company does this as well. It's useful only if you want to take a week's vacation before you accumulate 40 hours of PTO that year or multiple weeks that will put you over 40 hours. We have the option at the end of the year to sell it back to the company, or else we lose any purchased PTO. But as you said, it takes a large bite out of the take-home pay, so I only get it if I know I'll need it. I previously worked for a big bank that did this. Basically, they just adjust your hourly wage down to spread it out over the extra week. I never used it while I was there, but to be honest, I was thinking about this the other day and wishing my new company had it. Although it's a nightmare when you leave and any time your salary changes. So I get it. I'd love to have the ability to do this at my job. If I take off without having time off options to cover it, I get terminated. I worked at a company that lets you do that, but it wasn't dollar for dollar. You get base PTO too, right?
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.